It's just a rental application. It's a peer-to-peer rental service.
Las Vegas, because this has been a sort of interesting development. You know, the images of the Cybertruck parked outside the Las Vegas Trump property went viral. You know, sort of, I think people thought it was an accident and then no one was hurt. And so there was a sort of bizarre symbolism, and then it was a Cybertruck. It was not Trump. As it's developed, it seems that this is being taken far more seriously. What have we learned about what authorities know and how they're investigating this?
Right, Chris. So according to the reporting of myself, my colleagues Andrew Blankstein and Kelly O'Donnell, right now, 3 senior U.S. law enforcement officials say that this explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck, kind of in the portico there where you saw that smoke rising from in front of Trump's property in Las Vegas, is being investigated, at least initially, as a potential act of terrorism, and that it was, quote, intentional. And there was a...
Let's talk about...
I haven't seen a single pic of the ISIS flag. How can it do rollout with a flag around a super crowded city without people taking video and pics? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is the flag on the car in the initial video when he's driving in? Because I didn't see that. Like, I don't know when the flag was planted on the car. It might have been covered. It's on, but wrapped up on the back. Oh, okay. So it was rolled up. It was not in the car. It was in the cab. People are saying it's, some people have said the flag was inside of the cab. Some people are saying the flag was rolled up in the back and then someone unveiled it. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I have no idea.
Incident, and now this one that is also being investigated as this possible terror attack.
Stay with me if you can. Okay, I want to bring in Tom Winter to talk more about this, then also shifting gears, obviously, to what we've been following all day out of New Orleans. Tom, I know you're wearing 2 hats now, 2 potential terror attacks now that we're looking at in this country, the first day of 2025. If you can add on to some of what Emily was just talking about with her reporting here.
Right. So Emily referenced a lot of what we've been saying. My colleagues, Kelly O'Donnell, as well as Andrew Blankstein out west, who covers our West Coast. Basically, there's a...
Then look into it. Are you talking to me? I will look into it.
And Elon Musk, by the way, has actually just put out on his X platform that he owns details about this, saying there was either some sort of fireworks that were packed in the bed of the truck or a low explosive device. It looks to me like it could actually be a combination of both, using fireworks as a means of creating a detonation that eventually creates the car being on fire, as you're seeing here. This is after the detonation occurs, this video that's taken. I've seen some surveillance video. We're just trying to make sure that we're going to be able to use it and show it to you, that shows the back of the Cybertruck in the bed, as Musk describes, effectively kind of blowing out. This is not a truck bomb. This is not an Oklahoma City type level of explosion. This person would not be standing there if that was the case, but it is something that is being looked at as an intentional act, and the belief now is that it could become a terrorist attack. There are going to be other steps that are going to be, taken at Trump properties, but it's not yet clear as far as if there's any sort of additional existential threat. One thing I do want to point out, when we look at these type of incidents involving Trump, involving a Cybertruck and Musk, whoever did this knows that we're in the process of confirming a name, knows that this is going to get a lot of attention. Probably thought it'd get a lot more of attention than it did if we weren't talking about 10 people who are deceased or more as a result of a terrorist attack in New Orleans. Right. But whoever did this knew that. And as we saw with the Trump trial, there was a person who died by suicide.
Here's the flag covered up. I don't know if they covered it up themselves or if it was covered up, though.
For their cause, not necessarily a cause against Trump or Musk. So we have to keep that in mind as a potential possibility here. But it's just too soon to say, at least what we've been told, what the motive might be. But it's something that we're definitely tracking closely.
So just a couple more questions on this, Tom, and then we're going to pivot to New Orleans. What is leading authorities here to say that they're investigating a possible terror attack? Is there anything that we can kind of put our thumb on to know as to why they see that as a potential motive?
Yeah, I don't have any specifics on that just yet, or at least none that are confirmed. And so I just kind of want to stay away from, I don't want to get into a business of speculation, which I know you appreciate. I just don't want to go there with so much stuff going on today. I do think it's important to mention that this Cybertruck was apparently rented from the same rental company that the suspect in New Orleans used. But we should note, to be clear here, there's no indication law enforcement says they found of any connection between the Trump Tower incident incident in New Orleans. They appear to be totally separate.
Yeah, important to obviously reiterate that as we're reporting on these two simultaneous stories happening that may honestly be just a total coincidence that they're happening on the same day. Tom, let's pivot if we can. I want to talk New Orleans and I want to talk about the suspect and what we're learning because this also is a fast developing story. Let's talk about his military service because we're learning more about his military service. I know that we've learned that he was honorably discharged. He served multiple years in the military. Walk us through what more we know.
Yeah, so 42 years old, as we're looking at there on screen, born in 1982, October 26 to be precise. He's a U.S. citizen from Texas, an Army veteran. They said at the press conference he was discharged honorably, pronounced dead at the scene after getting in a gunfight with law enforcement. So this whole idea of whether he acted alone or not is interesting. Specifically, Yasmin, this idea of whether or not there were other people that were involved in these two additional improvised explosive devices that we've been talking about today that were found near where this incident occurred. The highlighted image there shows what federal law enforcement says is a ISIS flag or ISIS-related flag. We noted that right away earlier today. By the way, Sayfullo Saipov, who is an individual who was convicted of the West Side Highway vehicle ramming attack, talked about putting a flag on the back of his pickup truck, also rented from a different company, also rented, but thought the NYPD would see the flag and immediately engage with him. So this is not the first time this idea has come up. But basically, we've got these two improvised explosive devices that were found outside the vehicle, found in New Orleans. There were some individuals kind of around those that were seen on surveillance video. Not clear whether or not they just observed those things and said, well, that's a little suspicious, or whether they were involved in putting them there. That's what the FBI is kind of...
Yeah, they're both EVs. They were both rented through Turo.
He didn't act alone. Doesn't mean...
But I don't know if there's any like through line here. It's just like...
We just have to keep all those things in mind.
So we know two big things that they're going to be looking at when they're learning more about this individual, right? It is the travel, if he traveled overseas at all, who he interacted with during that travel, and also his social media history, right? What he was looking into. And we know, obviously, having covered terror attacks previously, especially ISIS-inspired terror attacks, oftentimes the interactions happen online, especially with individuals that are based here in the United States. Walk us through, Tom, what we're learning as the investigation progresses as to his travel and his social media history.
Sure. So there is an indication of travel, and I've been looking down just because we've gotten so many notes and so many different things that have come through from my colleagues and I. But as far as the travel goes, there are some things that are seen over the course of his history in 2023 specifically. They're looking into possible travel that he took between Cairo, Egypt, and JFK that occurred in June of 2023, and then a week and a half later to back to JFK. That would have been on July 3rd. And then there was another trip that they're looking into, a possible trip between Atlanta and Toronto, which was a round trip that took place several days afterwards. What was that travel about? What was he up to? What was he doing in Cairo? Was he seeing the sights, or was he up to something that he shouldn't have been? Did he have further travel from there? That's something that the U.S. will certainly look at. The FBI has the ability to look at as a member of the intelligence community, but that's where the rest of the U.S. intelligence community that looks at things overseas, specifically the Central Intelligence Agency, the NSA, and other agencies can get involved with, as well as this is well within their purview. Even though he's a U.S. citizen, they could start to look at things abroad about, was he meeting with anybody who was known to them? So all sorts of things that they'll take a peek at here in the days coming forward. Hours coming forward.
How active are they, Tom? Because I know years ago they were much more active, and I'm not quite sure where they are now when it comes to monitoring kind of social media activities between some of these terrorist organizations and individuals here in the United States. I mean, how active are they in kind of online intelligence monitoring of that?
I think you've seen this year several high-profile incidents that have been stopped as a result of aggressive investigation work that has occurred globally. And so how that specifically happens or comes together is something that law enforcement keeps to themselves, and not something that we would typically tip off somebody as to how certain things happen, whether it involves social media or some other sort of form of communication. They're in as many places as they lawfully try to be, and that's pretty much all I would be able to offer on that.
All right. Tom Winter, I know you're going to be sticking with us throughout the hour. So for now, thank you for your reporting on that. I want to bring in now Robert D'Amico, a former supervisor with the FBI and founder of Sierra One Consulting. Remember, authorities revealing earlier today that they found an ISIS flag on the rental truck used in this attack. Rob, thanks for joining us on this. I appreciate it. We have some new reporting, as I've been talking to both Tom and Ken about this, contradicting what the FBI told us initially about the suspect not necessarily acting alone. And Tom said, they could go back on this. There could be a lot of back and forth on this. And this is an active investigation. And we know with these types of things, it is swift moving and things change. Where do you expect to land and how do you expect them to drill down on this?
Well, I expect them to land, with the facts. The facts as they open the case and they start looking at phones and social media. I think one of the real key ones will be if they can get into his phone, if he had a phone on him, if they can break the code to get in there to look at the encrypted apps. That's where these people are communicating. Discord, Telegram, all these encrypted apps that the government really has a glance.
Discord encrypted? The fuck is encrypted about Discord?
Social media not as prevalent as it was before. The encrypted apps are where they do it. So I think that will be key if they can get in there. The facts that come out. This reminds me after
How is the guy a specialist?
happens, and then all of a sudden you start connecting everything.
I'm a fucking boomer, and even I shouldn't curse.
And
I am a heckin' boomer,
start off with it.
and even I know Discord's not encrypted.